Welcome to Birmingham, Alabama. Here we are for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. I believe that's what it is. I can never remember the hashtag of it. I have to look it up every year, and I think I got the name right first time around. So this is the last race before we get into May activities at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The race, of course, is actually in May, on May the 1st. And this is the second time I've come out to this racetrack, but certainly the first normal Barber Motorsports Park race I've been able to witness. What a beautiful facility. I mean, you have to say they keep this thing absolutely immaculate. The museum is incredible. It's always a pleasure to come here. It's going to be an interesting race, I think, because there is a threat of weather. And if it rains on Sunday, and as long as it doesn't wash this race out, I think you're in for quite an interesting race. We're hearing, and as you guys are well aware at this point from the drivers, that they're kind of thinking that we're not going to be able to pass. Now, a lot of times when they say that, they usually don't mean it, and it's usually a pretty exciting race. In fact, I can remember several races here at Barber Motorsports Park where there was a last lap pass for the lead, or not last lap, but there was a battle for the lead towards the end, mostly involving Graham Rahal, to be fair. But I think we're usually in for a pretty good show here at Barber Motorsports Park. We only had one 45-minute practice session today. It wasn't exactly a busy day from an IndyCar perspective. There are several other categories here, including the Radical Cup, which is quite interesting. Let's take a look at the results from FP1 today. It's Big Chungus. Once again, up top, Colton Herta. It's interesting because he's been so fast every race this season, and it seems like none of the races seem to go his way. We'll see. You think about Long Beach and you think about that mistake he made. Last year he made a mistake here, though it was in practice. This is the last and only session before qualifying, and really no one got out on the reds either, which I thought was really interesting. Alex Palou in second, the defending winner of the Honda Grand Prix of Alabama. That was his first career win, and of course he went on to win the championship. A strong showing from Andretti Autosport. Alexander Rossi in third. Romain Grosjean still in search of his first series win in P4. Scott McLaughlin, who has been so strong this year, looks like he's carrying that strength through in P5. Scott Dixon keeping that New Zealand connection alive, and if Dixon can qualify well, I think he could be a real sleeper pick for the win. Scott Dixon has never won at Barber Motorsports Park. Pato O'Ward was on the pole position last year. You'll hear from him later on in this video. Callum Ilott was extremely impressive in the first natural terrain road course session of the season. Marcus Ericsson always hanging in there in P9. Rinus VeeKay, again, another driver who's just kind of on that cusp of really having a breakthrough in this series. Obviously, he had a win last year, looking for that next victory. Jack Harvey recovering from a struggle in Long Beach, 11th on the board today. Elio Castroneves in 12th. Felix Rosenquist in 13th. He's out-qualified Pato O'Ward quite handily this season, but unfortunately has not outraced him. Devlin DeFrancesco in 14th, the fourth Andretti Autosport driver. Christian Lundgaard, who generally speaking hasn't had a great season thus far, looking for good things here at Barber. Will Power in 16th. Graham Rahal in 17th. Some big names, but the biggest name to me is Joseph Newgarden, and I have to tell you guys, they not only pulled the car in early from practice, but there was a bit of a thrash going on. Several Chevy engineers all over the back of that car at the end of practice, and you have to think back to Scott McLaughlin sending an engine to space at Long Beach. I wonder if perhaps something has happened in the engine department of the Chevrolet Penske for Joseph Newgarden. Connor Daly in 19th. Kyle Kirkwood in 20th. You'll hear from him later. Simon Pagenaud in 21st, a former winner here. Takuma Sato 22nd. Dave Malukas in 23rd. Dale Coyne cars. And then you've got Dalton Kellett, Jimmy Johnson, and Tatiana Calderon, who you will hear from for the first time on this channel later on in this video. So, let's hear from some drivers so I can stop yapping. We talked to some different people this time and some of your old favorites. We kind of focused a little bit on strategy, but it wasn't totally focused on strategy. We tried to vary things up this time, and I think we got some interesting answers.
I think we just need to continue the course that we have with our championship, right? We didn't start off very well. I think we had a great Long Beach. and I think we can have a great weekend here. It's a track that I really enjoy. It's fast, it's flowy, it's very, very high commitment. So I don't see why things shouldn't go well for us this weekend. Obviously, there's many scenarios that can happen that can put you in a difficult spot. But I think we just take it step by step, evolve our setup, and just improve when qualifying comes, execute when qualifying comes, and then just have a great race.
And you mentioned that. One of the things that Felix kind of pointed out was the importance of qualifying because it's so hard to pass here. What can you do to get into that Fast Six? Because it is so difficult these days.
It's hard, man. It's very competitive, and as we've seen just this year alone, we haven't gone into the Fast Six for the 5 side. Felix has, so I think a great objective for us is, maybe not. You always want a pole, right? But we don't need a pole. All we need is to be within the first 5 or 6, and we'll have a great race from there. So. I think that's going to be the goal this weekend, man. Just have a solid qualifying, the best that we've had this year so far. If we're around 4th or 5th or so, I'll be very happy with that. And then just move forward in the race. It's a long race. There's tire deg, there's strategy, there's many things that can help you move up or can help you go backwards. But obviously our goals are just going to be executing when that comes and just having a good race, which I know we can do.
What would you say your deficiencies in qualifying have been? I mean, what has Felix been able to do that maybe you haven't been able to do in qualifying?
I think for us is we've got the car in the window too late. We haven't rolled off the truck into what my liking has been in terms of just extracting everything out of the car, specifically for a 1 lap. I think we've been better in race pace. But we haven't had that one lap pace in qualifying to be better, and I think that's going to be something that we're going to be working towards since practice 1. Obviously, we don't know if it's going to rain. If it is going to rain, whatever's going to get thrown at us, throw it. But I think we need to be ready for it not to rain, and have something that we're very happy with in me being able to extract everything out of it, and I'm sure. If we get that down, we'll be well into the Fast Six.
That's going the right way, and I'm excited to have a year under my belt. This track requires so much from the driver, such a commitment, so physical, that if you're a rookie, you're really going to expose weaknesses around here. And I still feel like I am a rookie, but I do have a fair amount of experience, that I can build on. I've been here maybe a month ago. We came here and tested, and I continue to make big improvements and get closer to my teammates' pace.
What's the biggest place you need to still improve at a track like Barber?
For me, it's really kind of that turn 8-9 complex and trusting the car, bouncing off the curbs. I'd also say that that kind of 12, 13, 14 complex is another area that I just need to trust the car's performance. Other than that, I'm pretty darn close on pace. It's just those high commitment areas that I just need a little more finesse in those areas and not overslow the car.
Can you describe that kind of feeling at a place where you really have to trust the car to someone who maybe never will ever get going at 150 miles an hour on a roller coaster like this? What is that experience like, and how do you talk yourself into going that fast?
I've spent a lifetime forming an opinion of what a car could do, and now as I approach a corner in this IndyCar, the performance level is 3 or 4 times higher than what I've ever experienced. So I go in smiling, thinking I just crushed it. I went into some new level that no one's ever seen before, and I'm slow, and that turns out it's just a level I've never seen before. So I'm trying to be measured and take methodical, smart bites out of the braking zone and move my point in a car length each time, and use visual references for that. And I've been able to do so, but where I'm at now is there's a bit of feel you have to have for the car and finesse, and I'm a bit programmed of this visual reference, and I just need to get the feel in the brake pedal a bit more and the feel in the steering wheel to make up those last few tenths I need.
So when you leave this weekend, what result will make you smile?
I'm going to smile, period. I'm having a damn good time. I'd love to improve on my qualifying and in-race finishes and results. So it wouldn't be too hard to well, I guess I qualified 18th on the oval, but I'd love to qualify up in the teens, and then I think wherever I start, I seem to race a few spots ahead of that. So if I can start qualifying in the teens, I think I can race and stay in the teens, and that'd be quite impressive.
Well, I couldn't ask for a better road course to come to because I've actually driven around here in an IndyCar before. A lot of tracks I've gone to this year, all of them except for this one, I've not driven an IndyCar at. So it's nice to come to our first permanent road course and have a little bit of time under our belts here. I'm ready to get to some road course racing. We haven't done any of it this year, and granted, this place is tough to pass, but it's just so fun to drive as a driver. It's such high grip, such high commitment. It's just so much different than street course racing or oval racing.
Qualifying, that's been kind of the key point with all the people I've talked to today.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to pass, like you said. How can you maximize a lap around here, and how can you kind of differentiate yourself from everybody else?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you go watch Patricio Ward's lap from last year in qualifying, he just drives the absolute kajibers out of it, and he gets a ton of time out of it. And that's what you got to do at some of the road courses, because IndyCars, it's so close between all the teams, and we're looking for hundredths of a second rather than tenths. So gaining a couple tenths in your driving will put you right at the front of the field. So that's kind of the plan at the moment, is just see if we get 10 tenths out of it.
So there's a potential, I hate to say the R word at the racetrack, but there's a potential for rain.
Yep.
on Sunday. Have you ever driven an IndyCar in the rain?
No, but the R word isn't a bad thing for me. I love racing in the rain. I think it's a ton of fun because the different rain. So here, for instance, it'll actually turn this race into an awesome race to watch because, like you said, I think there's not going to be a lot of passing. A lot of stuff you're going to be watching is in pit lane, which most people don't really understand if you're watching on TV. Granted, NBC does a really good job explaining it, but still people don't really understand, like, how did this person get from there? Why is this person leading right now? It's like, what's going on? A lot of that. If it rains, it'll be a lot more interesting because you'll see a lot more passes happening, and that's due to people just trying new things. The grip might be there at one point, but then it goes away as the track dries or it gets wetter. It's like everything's always changing in the rain, and it's what driver adapts the best is the one that comes out on top.
And what is it going to take for you to be the driver who adapts the best and gets a good result today or Sunday?
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure. That's the whole point of adaptability, right? Is having confidence in uncertain times, and hopefully we're the first ones to figure it out if it does rain. But I've got a little bit of knowledge around here in the wet, and since they've repaved it, and I've got some good videos of some lights drivers that drove around here in the wet a couple weeks ago. So hopefully I can use those to my advantage and maybe come out on top.
It's nice to be back on a road course, first of all. I think that kind of answers the question. Like, you don't really know how it's going to feel. I feel like we're really dialed in on street tracks and IMS and Texas, but we haven't been to a track like this yet. So I feel good. I think, we have a good package to start with here. Last year we were, I think we both were strong. I spun in qualifying, and then I was kind of dragged into a whole crash as a result of that in the race. But I think our cars are quick here, so just kind of need to work on a good baselining practice and see where it goes.
The last time we spoke, it was at Long Beach, and one of the problems you had in the race was tire deg. You've been so fast in qualifying. Are you kind of expecting the same sort of challenges here on the road courses, or are you thinking it's going to be a little bit different?
I don't know. I don't think this is a high deg track in general. It's not really. It used to be, actually, but the last couple of years it hasn't really been a place where you're worried about deg. But hey, like, we weren't worried about deg in Long Beach either. So we'll definitely be on top of that. If we kind of see signs of it in warm up or practice, and I think we're more prepared for it this weekend than we've been previously. So. But yeah, hopefully we can continue qualifying well. I think that's anyways a key, and it's important. So, and then hopefully execute this time. It will be good with a good result.
General consensus seems to be a 3-stop race. Do you see that strategy varying at all? Presuming, of course, it doesn't rain, because there seems to be some of that in the forecast.
I haven't really looked into the strategy that much to reply.
Come on, we need your expertise. Come on. I can't do all of it.
I mean, it seems like whenever we think it's something, it's a lot of times it's the other way. So my guess is as good as yours at this point. But it's hard to pass. So I think if you can get away with two-stopper, that's always going to be good. But I haven't really looked at all the fuel stuff yet, and we don't really know the mileage yet. But yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Absolutely. No, I think it's great to know that, if you miss your braking point, you're not facing the wall. Maybe a little bit more grass. I'll cut the grass if anything, but no, just good to be back in a permanent circuit. I think I hopefully get up to speed quicker there here, explore the limit of the car a little bit more freely, I would say. Of course, it's still going to be very tough because everybody sort of knows this track. A lot of teams have tested here a few weeks ago, but not us. So I'm expecting a huge challenge still, but the track looks fantastic, so I can't wait to get out on track.
You've driven Formula 2 cars, Super Formula cars. What's the difference as a driver jumping into an IndyCar?
Well, I think, they all have their particular styles that you need to suit in terms of how the car setup and the tire itself works. So for me, I think also like the tire, getting to know the tire and adapting my style to it has been the biggest change. Obviously, Super Formula, for example, has a ton of downforce, so that car is planted to the ground, and you just, you lift the throttle, and if you feel you brake because of the amount of downforce that you have. And I would say Formula 2 is a bit more similar to IndyCar, but also like the physical side of it. IndyCar, I think, is the most physical series I have been into, and this is an extra challenge for me as well.
And especially, I think our races typically are a lot longer too. I mean, how much of a factor is endurance, and what is it like that final tire stint to drive these cars after you've been driving them for so long in a race?
Absolutely. I was like laughing a little bit with my engineers because I said this is like a sprint race but an endurance race as well. You stop many times. At the end of the race, the track is very gripped up. You put new tires, the steering wheel gets even heavier than what it was. You still flat out all the time because these tires last really long. So compared to other series that I've been to, so it's a marathon, but you're pushing the whole way in. So I'm looking forward to see how I behave in one of the most physical tracks apparently. But it should be good. The more laps I get, I think the fitter I will be, and it's a big challenge ahead.
You've improved every race. What is a realistic expectation for you this weekend? What would you go away with a finish and feel happy?
You always want to be around the top 10, obviously, but I'm also aware that I'm one of the only drivers that haven't tested here in an IndyCar, at least. To be closer to the pace in qualifying, like between a second, and then to be fighting people in the race, that's my goal.
There's a few things that we've been doing differently this year. I think, the one thing is obviously we've continued with the core group that we have afloat, but we've also brought new people on board and kind of growing that institutional knowledge. On my end, we made the switch to working with Briscoe kind of like halfway through last year. I think that's been a really good help. I've been getting a lot of good stuff from him. He's here with us this weekend. And, some of it's just kind of clicking. Like I've got, I've got last year's experience under my belt, and, I was looking at some of the onboard from this time last year, which was kind of our first race, and it's like I'm seeing something like, geez, okay, like that was pretty obvious that like there was stuff that I was missing. So, kind of a combination of a bunch of factors, but I'm hoping that we'll have another that we'll have a good weekend here. Like I said, we've kind of had this sort of up and down season, but I think the parts are all there. We got to kind of put it together.
It's kind of weird too that this is like the first road course race of the season, and I almost kind of in some ways feel it's like mid-season.
Yeah.
So like, what is that adapting process like? Because I mean, this track is a lot different than anywhere we've gone all this year.
Yeah, it's this will be the highest commitment, highest downforce track in terms of high-speed corners and all that. The road course tire is different than the street course tire. The road course tire is a kind of a lighter gauge, like. There's a bit less meat to it kind of thing, so it's maybe not quite as good in the kind of combined loading areas, so you've got to kind of manage that a bit. I think we're coming with a bit of a stiffer tire or a harder compound than we had last year, so that'll be interesting to see. Like, we saw some really fast times here in the last year with the new repave, so with the harder compound, it might not be quite where it was last year, but the conditions are really good. It's not too hot, so we'll have to see. Yeah.
And so there is some potential rain in the forecast. If it goes dry the whole time, what are we looking at? A 2-3 stop race?
I think barring yellows and all that, you're pretty much looking at a 2-stop race. I think that's kind of the there's short windows with the 2-stop. You're pretty much right on 30 laps with your fuel mileage. The thing is, with last year, I think we weren't too certain about how the reds were going to last. Whereas with the harder compound, obviously that should allow a little bit less worry in terms of having to short one stint and then save fuel to get to make up those laps on your blacks. So there's definitely some question marks. Just like, I think the ideal strategy is the 2-stop. But once you get yellows in there, it's kind of more depends on track position and under and overcut and all that. But then the question mark of, will the reds be more on par with the blacks, and we won't have as much of a distinction, and you'll see, not everyone bailing off the reds really early. So.
To be TBD. Oh God! Speaking of TBD,
IndyCar strategy. You just sum it up as TBD.
So the first thing on track tomorrow for the IndyCars is qualifying. So this weekend's really clicking along. I'm not a huge fan of lack of track time. I wish we had a little bit more. We always should have more track time. Again. Less simulation, more racing. I know some people disagree with that, but to me, everybody's paying the ticket price. Everybody's showing up and traveling to watch real race cars on the real racetrack. And that's my opinion. But yeah, so we're going to find out who's going to be leading the field to green tomorrow. And then there is a practice session, and then it's race time in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a fast weekend. It's quick. But again, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting race. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport and IndyCar content, and I will see you in the next video.